Hey, welcome to this episode of Ruff Talk VR. You know, it was a busy week this past week, both in the world of VR, but also just in real life. You know, I had so my birthday was the other day, and on that same day, I had a jiu-jitsu competition, which meant the last 2 weeks have been very much focused on that. And then, you know, we had Bill Burr right after, which was definitely a good time. So this whole last week, it's just been crazy.
Yeah, Bill Burr rocked it, dude.
Yeah, Bill Burr was a nice top off on it.
We saw him last year, though, in Fenway, which is, and it's funny because when I was talking to somebody at the building, they were like, a lot of people always complain about when you go see like a comedian in a ballpark, the sound quality's not that great. Although I argued it sounded good from our seats at Fenway.
And it was the first time a comedian had ever sold out Fenway or done Fenway like that. So it was just a unique experience all around. And Fenway, it's a great venue, but there's something about being in a smaller venue like the Mass Mutual Center in Springfield, Mass. That's even a little bit more intimate.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, there's no bad seat in the house.
No.
At the ballpark. And the thing about the ballpark I was going to mention is the lack of sound quality that might exist at a ballpark gets made up for the experience of actually like going to Fenway Park.
100%.
Which is, you know, there's some history there. People call from all over the world and try to go to that park. So
yeah,
that was cool. But I agree. I think the total attendance for like the building we were at is just under 7,000
versus Fenway. I don't know the number, but it's more than 7,000.
It's fucking 5 times that probably.
Yeah. For comedy shows, I like smaller the better. I mean, obviously I don't want to be there 5 other people, but I mean like a comedy club with like 200 people, that's the best.
I was going to say 150 is like the magic number to me for a comedy club. Because now there's no bad seat. And if the comedian wants to get personal with anybody in that audience, there's like nowhere to hide.
Yeah, I'm a big stand-up comedy fan. So to start to get big stand-up comedy in Western Mass, you know.
Our area? Yeah.
Yeah, it's been really cool. I saw Mark Norman in the area. He's a big comedian.
They got Pete Davidson coming.
Yeah, I saw Hans Kim. It's cool. Kevin Hart was here the other week too. That was another Mass Mutual. But even just coming to like our more local.
That's because the casino has something to do with the affiliation now. Because I don't think Kevin Hart would have ever come.
No,
if MGM wasn't attached to the.
Well, even there's 2 comedy clubs that comedians have been coming to. One in Springfield gets kind of attached to the MGM, but smaller than Mass Mutual, and then there's one in Chicopee.
Mass Mutual's an arena, so
and
put it into perspective.
Whereas the comedy club at MGM is a old castle. It's the Springfield Armory, but it's a cool venue. And then in Chicopee they have just it used to be like a bar restaurant that got turned into a comedy club, and it's really cool. That's where Mark Norman went. Giannis Pappas went to Springfield, so we're starting to get a little like traveling.
Well, it's coming back because they're in my lifetime. I remember when there was a stronger comedy scene. It's like almost every city had comedy clubs, and then hotels were getting smart and booking like really good acts that you could affordably see in like really, like basically like 2 meeting rooms type of situation with the half rounds.
And what's cool is it seems like the New York crew, like the New York City crew, is starting to be like, well, it's not a bad distance up here for a show.
That's how it used to be.
But for years, there wasn't much going on here for stand-up comedy. Yeah.
It all left.
Miserably. It was, like I said, nothing when I first got into stand-up comedy. But now we're getting some good shows, and I always try to go, get good seats, laugh a lot. Not fake laugh. They make me laugh. But I always
not taped, no.
No, I try to go and support because I always hope that they go back and tell people, like, dude, that area is good. They're supportive. They laugh, versus going there. It's an empty, dead arena. Nobody's laughing. I go front row. I'm laughing.
Bill Burr also sold out in hours.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
No, that's true. They told me last night that within like hours there was only like 400 tickets left.
Yeah, and it was cool to do because, like I said, I competed on my birthday earlier, and
you got the VIP pass.
Yeah, for the villa, which was like a private bathroom and some
personal lounge
and stuff too.
Concessions.
Yeah, but it was cool. It went from like
no line.
Didn't too much feel like the birthday because for jiu-jitsu competitions, I'm not eating cake and good the whole week leading up. It's very strict dieting and making sure your weight's good. And then the day of, you're not really doing anything for your birthday because you got to make sure the weight's good. You're going to be competing in a few hours. But then to end the night with Bill Burr, that was a good top off on it. And then into the VR news now that we got 5 minutes of life talk.
The comedy part out of the way. We both like comedians, so what the fuck?
Well, and you know what? Maybe some people, it'll annoy them. Maybe some people will love it. So it's something new, but we never really talk about ourselves or life at all. We usually go straight into business, straight into the VR talk. So why not start it a bit with a little bit of how our life was? If people don't like it, that's the great thing about podcasting. You have the beautiful thing that's called fast forward.
30 second.
Yeah. If you like it, then hey, let us know.
Of that. Oh, I.
So on the VR news though, Ghosts of Tabor, they came out with a blog post on Meta that showed that they surpassed 3 million in revenue on the MetaQuest App Lab store.
App Lab, folks.
And what I found so interesting about that is that my impression was that that's not their total revenue. That's just on the App Lab, which we know from talking with Scott Albright, the CEO of Combat Waffle Studios, that although the Quest might be more players and more sales, they definitely do have a significant player base on Steam VR. So it's got to make you wonder what their total revenue is.
I would speculate more.
Well,
just based on the obvious.
Unless I'm misinterpreting the headlines and the interview and the blog posts, because it was a good interview they did with Meta. But man, 3 mil on App Lab, and the game came out in March.
Well, it's not even out, really. Well, it's still in
early access, but you can buy it. You can buy it in early access.
You can buy it, play it.
It launched in early access in March, 5 months later.
Well, here's the dealie. In all things being equal, it's like I think Combat Waffle could almost take any game and market it properly. It's the one area that Scott and his team are like stupid strong at and understand the value in. I mean, we've spoken to him a couple of times in our life, and it's like both times there's been a heavy emphasis on like you have to own the marketing of this project. If it means spending some money, then do it with the understanding that, hey, we get it. Not everyone has the money to spend, but if you're looking to move this is a game that's not even on the frickin' store, dude. Which is, I heard the scuttlebutt in Discord about people like, well, if it's doing this well now, what's going to happen when it hits the store? It's going to be an explosion. So it's going to be crazy, dude. But yeah, they know the value of marketing, and it's probably the best example I've ever seen for an App Lab game.
Yeah, that was other
than Gorilla Tag. That
was a part of it that for one, Scott spoke about it extensively in the podcast interviews that we've done with him. The importance of proper marketing and launching on all VR headsets, and being available, especially the most popular, the MetaQuest. Marketing's everything in a video game launch and post-release and even pre-release. But they go into it a little bit in the interview that was available on the Meta blog as well. And yeah, that's something. It's marketing is everything, especially VR specific marketing.
It didn't need to used to be. That doesn't even sound right. It didn't need to always be that way.
Yeah.
Or it wasn't that way, years ago. You didn't have to. But, we're seeing more and more good, I don't want to say competition, but good games coming out. Obviously, it seems like people are holding off to the Quest 3, which seems to be going on in mass. But it's not going to be like it was, where you could just put a product out and people are going to be like, oh, okay, I'll play it, because there's not many options. Where now it's like, damn, man, marketing's an important, seems like marketing and PR companies.
Absolutely.
For video games, because they have the resources and the networks.
Well, you see how many games come to App Lab every day, how many games are announced. It's not just putting your game out and expecting people to find it. You need to do more.
Yeah, so I give them credit not only for having an actual product that we love to death, but knowing how to market it so people who haven't seen it can find it and have heard about it. And it's, again, this is App Lab, and I'm hard pressed to find people who haven't at least heard about it at this point.
And of course, part of that is not just marketing of their, making 3 mil. Part of that is having a great product. That's something important to say too. You can market a bad product all you want. It's not going to get 3 mil in sales, but
I don't know. The Pet Rock made $1 million.
That's a good point.
True story.
Yeah, I know. I
mean,
don't really have a counter to that.
right?
So maybe you can just
I saw a
market
balloon
your
popper
game.
at a Dead show.
Maybe I'll
once.
take that. Maybe I'll take that that statement back. But just they have a good product and a good marketing
no,
team,
it's
and
a
that makes
double
a
whammy.
big difference.
They're not marketing. They're not marketing a shitty product, and it's like the end game for that product is even more impressive. But
damn, $3 million
early access.
$3 million.
I get it if it's a game on App Lab and it's finished, but this is $3 million in early access.
And they have another game in works. A more
don't even
slower.
talk about.
Well, they have two. They have one I'll bring up in a moment, but then they have their other one which is a more slow-paced, casual zombie shooter. That I can't wait to hear more about that. But then there's another game. We talked about it a bit last week because it was now officially announced. Their social media page for it, Steam page, everything like that. Yeah, which I know you're so hyped for. It's called Grim VR. I know we talked about it a bit last week, but like you so strongly emphasize, it's essentially Rust in VR.
Yeah.
It's a multiplayer survival game. And so I'm so excited. And when stuff started to come out, it's made by developer Spoonfed, but it's going to be published by Combat Waffle Studios. And when we were talking about it last week, we were like, wow, it looks so far along in the videos that have come out so far. Like, it definitely can't be too far away. Props to them for getting so much done so fast. And then, to be fair, Spoonfed commented on our YouTube video, and they said, just to be honest, just to clarify, the reason it looks so far along and polished is because I've been working on it for about 6 years. So when I heard that, I actually got excited because then I'm like, oh, shit.
And this was the game that didn't Scott have to talk him into?
You have to go on Quest. Is how I remember that. Of course, I can go back, or our listeners can go back.
I could have sworn that's how it went down too.
Yeah, he had to.
And then, like, literally weeks later,
it was coming to the Quest.
Yeah, dude, I'm fiending for this one. This one, I mean, and it sucks because it's going to cut into a little bit of my Ghosts of Tabor time. I understand that, but be supporting the same studio, so I need to share the wealth on this one because there's a lot that. What's up?
No, I was gonna. Don't keep going.
You're making me laugh. I want to know, like, how many people can you roll into the server with? Because I'm already like envisioning, like, let's go in as a group. Let's go in as a full blown bloodthirsty Mad Max gang and just destroy and build. And
that's the benefit of having our
dude. I'm dying for
VR
this,
Discord. Man. We get our Discord army. Go in their Patreon.
That's what I'm talking about.
If we can make that a Patreon port, do you want?
And then if you build shit, is it going to be like Rust, where people can come and destroy it and level it to the ground? And I mean, I got a lot of questions, but yeah, I mean, I'm like legit happy ear to ear. It's like I was happy seeing the footage, and I agree with you. I was like, oh, this looks a lot more than I thought. This was conceptual. I didn't know this was as far advanced as it's looking.
Again, what I was going to say is that when he commented that it's been in the works for 6 years and that's why it looks so polished, I got so excited because I'm like, well, in my opinion, now that they have the backing of, Combat Waffle Studios, who knows when we see this?
That's
it could
what
be
I was
any
thinking.
freaking day. Then
Could be tomorrow.
I don't think it's going to be that soon by any means, but I'm just saying now I'm like, well, shit, we might see this in 6 months, a year. Whereas before I was under the impression, it was a little worked on, but now it's going full steam ahead. 6 years is, who knows how far along this actually is and how ready it is. They have the Steam page up. They have some videos going.
I'm willing to start playing it tomorrow.
Yep.
And, if I find any bugs or anything, I'll send an email. I'm down. I do not mind starting at ground level from this. No, it's a niche that just like Ghosts of Tabor fills. This one doesn't exist. And when this one, and it's cool that Combat Waffle has something to do with both.
Yeah.
So they're filling niches that, and I guess for all things being like people are scared to do. I don't know. We've talked to Scott about it, and
well, again, that's something that makes Ghost. That's one of the.
They don't do the rinse, wash, repeat.
That's why Ghost of Tabor hit
even
3 million.
Themselves.
Not only the marketing, having great product, it's unique, and that's something I can't emphasize enough.
Studio's gonna be so big. It's not even funny, dude. Because you've seen some of the roadmap for their game. It's not like 1 or 2 games coming here. It's a lot of.
And they emphasize that they're not diverting team members to other games, just adding, growing the team to work on this. So if there was 50, I'm just making a number. Let's say there's 20 people working on Ghost of Tabor. And then I have a feeling there might be more, but I'm just making up a number. and then Grim VR gets announced. It's not like they take 5 of those Ghosts of Tabor people and move them there. 20 people still work on Ghosts of Tabor, but they're going to hire 10 more people just to work on Grim VR. I love that. It's not diverting any resources.
No. You know what I could see too is like, and I'll lower the number. Let's say 10 people are working on it.
You could be whatever number.
So for the next project, they take one of those 10 that works on Ghosts of Tabor and then makes them like lead dev for the next project. And then for the next project, take one of the devs from Tabor.
You know, we should clarify the past one because it does actually kind of sound like that's what happened. So maybe the Ghosts of Tabor development team did lose one because wasn't spoon-fed on it before. So
yeah, but so if they continue to do that, and if they're only going to, let's say, put out 5, real high quality good games here, then that's 5 people that always had something to do with Tabor, but it'll leave a small amount that'll always be. So it's brilliant.
I'm down for that.
It's brilliant.
I love it, but I can't emphasize enough how big it is to do something unique, and that's market your game good and do what's not been done. Don't just do it because
Look, all the best games out there are all games that had never. I mean, like or love Beat Saber for what they do. They're the ones who do it. I believe the originals for that. I mean, there's some great spin-offs, but at the end of the day, people will describe it as, well, have you ever played Beat Saber?
Yeah.
Then you'll love this game.
Same with Gorilla Tag.
Gorilla Tag's its own.
So it's so important. So hats off to them. I'd love to have Spoon-Fed on the podcast to hear some more about how this game
I got questions. Starting with how many people we're going to be talking can all work as a team.
Yeah. I can't wait for it.
Because if we're talking 20, I'll start recruiting in Discord now. We'll have the channel created by freaking Tuesday morning.
I want to know if there's any whispers about a release date or anything like that. So I got a million questions. So hopefully we can get Spoon-Fed on. That would be a great interview.
Dude, the studio's gonna just it's not even gonna be funny.
So something cool I saw last week, and it was actually cool. I tweeted about it, and then Upload VR picked it up and made a article about it.
What was a good one?
Yeah, on the Joe Rogan Experience, Jared Cannonier, which, as you can tell, we've talked about it before. We're big MMA fans, big UFC fans. So I'm loving to see this whole Elon Zuck rivalry. I'm loving to see you be able to watch UFC events in X Stadium, be able to watch them in Horizons, which I have to make a corrections. Last week I had made actually an error, so I want to
vocal error.
I want to make a.
I think mentally you were there though.
I think mentally, but I don't want to make excuses. I was cutting weight last week. Yeah. I had a big weight cut, but I wasn't like sweating water weight cutting weight. Anybody that's ever wrestled or dropped weight, it's not always the most miserable.
You were still a little head wonky last night.
Yeah, I do. I had a big one. I had a big one. And it wasn't even that like, my weight wasn't where it should have been.
Yeah.
I was like doing double servings of dinner and stuff like that for months. And I was like 2 weeks out and I was like, yeah, I'm 163. I got to weigh about 150. I'm good. And then the only way you're doing that is with a calorie deficit. I mean, just mathematically.
Starvation diet.
I don't like those words. We won't use those words. We call it fasting. We call it fasting. Yeah. Woke up at 148.
I did it for religious reasons.
And then what sucks is, so I always am so meticulous about what I'm consuming in the lead up of it. But then when it's all done, and then you burn so many calories competing, actually in the matches themselves, that I go home, I pig out, I try to put weight back on, and I wake up the same weight that I was on weight for.
Your body just replacing the fuel it just burned. That's all.
And you gotta
thinking you're gonna pull that shit again tomorrow.
Yep. Woke up at 148 yesterday. Slowly pigged out throughout the day after I competed, and then woke up today at 148. I'm like, what the hell, man? I'm trying hard to get back up to my 150s, but nonetheless. So Jared Cannonier, top UFC middleweight. He's fought for the title, has huge wins in the UFC. A bit of an anime nerd. He's actually a cool guy. It was a great interview. I highly recommend it. He actually talks about that he's used Thrill of the Fight, his last couple fights, to cut weight. That's really cool.
Which is totally believable.
Yeah.
I think anyone that's played it has probably done the same, whether they intended to or not.
If you don't know what Jared Cannonier looks like, pull him up. That is a top athlete.
Although he does a lot more than play VR.
Yes, of course, of course. He works hard.
But for the weight cut, quote unquote, makes total sense.
Well, I want to be like, how cool is that? That it's, you play Thrill the Fight and it gets you tired or it gets you sweating a bunch. It's not just you. Even he was like, yeah, shit's accurate. It gets me tired. It gets me sweating. Yeah. So that was really cool to hear. And like I said, Jared Cannonier is a beast. Used to fight in the heavyweight division. Now he fights in the middleweight division. Just got super disciplined, and now he's just in phenomenal shape.
He's pretty solid, dude.
Yeah, it was really cool to hear that he uses Thrill to Fight.
I'm curious how much weight does he actually have to cut?
Yeah, I think he mentioned it on the episode, and it's not that bad.
Yeah, so he's not doing like a 20-pound.
I think he comes from like 200, like low 200s to 185, which for fighters, where you weigh in the day before,
that's not
you're
too bad.
Cutting off sweat. It's different. No, it's very reasonable.
Dude's walking around at 300, coming in at 150.
They push something I'll give Rogan credit for. I know whether you're the biggest fan of him or not, he pushes VR quite a bit. It comes up on his podcast at least once a week. I mean, even the Post Malone episode.
Dude, he's been talking about it for years.
That's one of the first places I ever heard about VR. I heard about it on my own, but it was always brought up in 20.
It was always the archery too. We talked about the archery games.
So yeah, archery and boxing. He's pushed, and I hear him push some local like VR arcades in California.
The dude's in great shape, man.
Well, and he's influential in the terms of
on the juice, but in good shape.
So the fact that he's talking about VR all the time, still calls it Oculus, is awesome. It came up on the Post Malone episode. The other, pretty much right after Jared Cannonier, and they're talking about Among Us VR, and he brings up Thrill the Fight again. So it's cool to see VR getting that.
Which means Post Malone listened to the episode.
What, the Jared Cannonier one?
Yeah.
No. Rogan brought it up. Okay. Yeah. I should have been clearer about that. But no, it's just cool to hear VR getting that type of like
exposure.
Yeah, on a huge platform like that. That was really cool to see. And like I said, don't feel bad.
I don't mean Rogan might be on the juice. I totally.
Well, he'll admit it.
Sued. I know he can admit it.
He'll say,
I think
testosterone.
I think he's natty. No, definitely not.
I don't think he's on the Liver King routine, but he'll be the first. I'll take testosterone,
dude.
I don't take testosterone.
If anything, see, people are looking at the Liver King wrong. If he should have marketed himself as like, look, this is what you can look like if you did steroids correctly, because
and ate liver.
Because I think that was just novelty shit. But I like him or love him, his physique was phenomenal for his age. That's like some next level shit. And it's like if he had just been honest, be like, look, I'm totally synthetic, add some mechanical parts and I'm an android. But his physique was amazing.
I think society just hates at this point like grifters and people that lie.
Well,
so
dude,
I agree.
Society always has.
If he
come
just
rolling into town, hey, buy my snake oil, see, it'll cure everything.
If he just came out and said, "I take this, this, and this" from day one, I don't think that there would have. I think he still would have been able to grow an audience. But I think,
well, there's a market for it if done. And I'm not advocating the use of synthetic medicines and all that. So please, nobody get it twisted.
No, but I'm also.
I've seen professionals who would. Like coaches and shit in different sports. It was a soccer team in another country, and he was like, "Yeah, my players take steroids, but you know what? They're cycled on and they're cycled off, and then they lose this much percentage of whatever speed." So he knew all the science, but the problem is more when people just want more and more. And I'm not big enough. I'm not big enough. I'm not big enough. And now you're taking like fucking bull hormones.
And when it's against the rules, I never think that's good, but
for competition, I'm talking every day.
Yeah, and the reality is also like I'm clean as a whistle, but I'm 27 years old. I think that you could talk to many medical professionals that would say, look, for somebody that's in their 50s, 60s, and their testosterone's below like the normal production, it's actually healthier for them.
Or what it is.
It's actually arguably healthier for long-term health for men to start doing testosterone replacement after a certain age.
I would do it tomorrow if I could.
But that doesn't mean 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds need to do it. And then what happens?
Oh shit! Who's the UFC fighter who the amounts were just like fucking 5 times.
I think it was Chael Sonnen.
No, it wouldn't surprise me. So you're probably correct. It was a Brazilian. Oh man, dude, his name is evading me. Oh no, he used to have such a freaking awesome physique.
Vitor Belfort.
Yes.
Yeah. Vitor.
Remember the numbers? I think they caught him with, and they were like off the friggin' charts.
Well, what happened? There was a small time in the MMA world they allowed testosterone replacement, which there's no reason an athlete fighting in their 20s and 30s should ever need testosterone replacement unless you used to do steroids and now your body doesn't produce testosterone anymore. And what people used to say, it was like what you do is you work out really hard for like 2 weeks, you don't sleep much, and you just drain yourself down, and then you go get your testosterone checked, and
so
it's
your
going to be
numbers
fucking low.
Yeah.
And then they do it. That's what people are doing. So yeah, that's not allowed anymore. Is that wild?
Well, I mean, it doesn't matter the sport. People are going to find and I think if all sports used current UFC testing,
it's not UFC testing.
Well,
it's
no,
USADA.
USADA.
It's what
Olympic
Olympic athletes are tested with.
I don't believe the NBA and NFL are using that.
No,
and there's a reason.
Their punishment for
boxing
is much less. Like NFL testosterone catches are usually a couple weeks and stuff, like a couple games.
Did you ever stood next to NFL players?
Yeah, it's a different type of athlete.
Yeah, they're just ginormous freaking monsters. They're human, giant human beings.
But nonetheless, I wonder how people are going to feel about all the.
I don't care.
It's a nice little.
Let's go. It's
nice
Monday morning.
Yeah, it's a nice little test of the waters.
You're on your drive. We predicted there was going to be some traffic.
You let us know how you feel, all right? Why don't you engage on the YouTube section or in our Discord? Let us know in the episode discussion.
Less talky, more worky.
Yeah.
That'd be my comment. You know what? I mean, look, it's your birthday weekend. You feel good. I feel good.
We're having some fun.
Yeah, we're just having a good time.
So, on other notes, Resolution Games opened up.
One of my favorites.
Yeah, they opened up beta applications for a new game coming out of there soon called Racket League. And I'm so excited for this one. It looks fun. It's looked cool since the first time they've showed it off. And if it's entering beta, that means it's getting closer and closer and closer.
I trust anything Resolution puts their name on, so
can't tell you a bad game they've done yet.
That's what I'm saying. It's
a bad DLC.
If your reputation is good, then there's so many studios too in VR that have just great reputations. Not that I can see Mighty Coconut putting their name on another game, but if they did, bet your ass it's going to be fun.
Yeah, Resolution Games is one of the studios that we always include in our list of AAA studios, like Fast Travel Games, like
Shell.
Yeah, like Shell Games,
Yeah.
which they have I Expect You to Die 3 coming out later this week.
Oh man.
I am so excited for that. That is one of our favorite series in VR.
Not even funny.
I have so many questions for it. Is it going to be like, I remember the second one? You could have gone straight into the second one without having played the first one. But I still, the first one holds up so well graphically and gameplay wise. I would recommend somebody to start with 1 and then go 2.
Yeah, man.
I'm curious if 3 is going to be the same thing. If the story is going to be, you could go in fresh, or you start with 1. You still get the best experience going 1, 2, 3, but you could start with 3. And I also remember too, the difficulty of 2s left off pretty much the same difficulty that 1's left off. Like they got a little harder each one, and then 2 wasn't back at the easy point. It was like, all right, this is how hard we're starting. We're getting harder. So I'm curious how hard, how creative, and how unique the levels are going to be. But we always know the I Expect You to Die series is one of the most polished, one of the best made puzzle games in VR, and I'm just so freaking excited.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah.
They've never let me down, and listen, they're like very few people do puzzle games better, or we could say escape room puzzle games. It's really escape rooms.
I always classify it as both.
Yeah. Well, it is, but I guess escape rooms are puzzles and an escape room. But since they're always like stationary environments, it's definitely more of a. But regardless, they do it better than anybody. So
they do the intro better than anybody.
Intros are always next level.
Again, their graphics are always good.
And they've gotten better and better each one too. So I anticipate
the voice acting, the story in it is always so good. I am such a fan of the lore, everything in I Expect You to Die. So I'm so excited for I Expect You to Die 3. I saw Shell Games post on Twitter the other day. Man, I think that developers just leave so much money on the table with merch and not doing bigger like merch releases and having that stuff for sale. They posted on Twitter that, hey, did you know we've made After the Fall and I Expect You to Die 2 records that, we've given away to some lucky fans at conferences and conventions and that kind of stuff. And it's like, an I Expect You to Die vinyl record? I have a record player. I listen to records.
Yeah, I got 2.
Dude, I Expect You to Die 2?
All right. I expect Shell to pony up 2 records to make available to us, and I will gladly pay them. But yeah, when you had told me that, I was like, why? And I saw other comments. People were like, I'd pay for that. I'd buy that. So it's like,
I want one of those so bad.
But I also understand it's like they put out, listen, Shell Games puts out good freaking games.
It's like resolution games.
Their focus isn't a merch department, and not for nothing. Maybe they've looked at the numbers and the people that would have to be involved to actually ship it, because you're dealing with humans here, and be like, it's just really not the most cost effective.
How much money do you think goes into the making of the intro? Because there's definitely professional composers, professional recording.
Dude, thousands.
There's so much that goes into it.
Thousands of dollars just for that intro. Couple of minute, 2-3 minute song with all the graphics and the opening credits and the journey that 1 and 2 took you on, that we'll assume by looking at the video of the opening credits for 3, you're going on that little thousands of dollars. Plus, yeah, man. I mean,
I'm so excited for 3.
What they do, I mean, I'll say it, they have the best opening credits of any video game I've ever played.
Yeah. Honestly, that's at least a quarter of me. That's what I'm so excited to fire up the first time. I know I've heard the intro, but to see it in VR with any graphics that they've made for it, any cutscene, I feel like it's going to be...
And the sound is better than what you're hearing through a phone.
Yeah, so it's like I already listened to the intro, but I feel like it's going to be different.
Yeah,
doing it in VR.
I expect goosebumps.
Yeah. Ooh, I'm
before
excited.
I die.
I'm excited for I Expect You to Die 3 coming out later this week. So
I'm excited for some vinyl records.
Yeah.
No, Shell has reached the point where they could have full on anything they want for merch, and I think people would indulge.
Oh, I agree.
Plus, I love their friggin' logo. The little spirals.
Yeah. Everything Shell does is good.
And who's the Shell name that's mentioned usually in credits? Jesse Shell.
Yeah. He's the CEO, and somebody told me that he would be a great interview sometime, but it's just trust me, I'd love to have him on. It's not like...
Yeah, I think the CEO of Shell Games is not busting up his...
Sometimes people are busy, so I don't always expect that everybody's going to be able to make it on.
They're busy making good games, man.
Apparently, he's been involved in the VR industry for a crazy amount of time. So I'd love to...
I just love that his last name is Shell. It's
and then Shell Games.
Yeah, Shell Games, baby. And it works perfect. It's like you were born with a development studio name. Get the frick out. That's awesome.
So... Dude, how cool would it be to have a nice little intro for our award show coming up in February?
That's what I said.
Yeah.
Something to that caliber?
Well, I don't think we could get to that caliber, but
I would
just to have some sort of intro for the... Now it's like, all right, noted.
Maybe Shell Games has a whole floor full of scraps that they chose not to do. We'll take one of your scraps. No, I'd love a catchy little... Just a little 2-3 minute intro before going. That'd be fucking bomb. But no.
So
I don't think that's happening.
So we got plenty more to talk about, but sometimes we go slow through things. Sometimes we go fast. Regardless, I want to take this moment before I forget and I end up doing it at the end or something like that. We'll take a quick little ad break. But right before that, like every Monday, I want to give a shout out to our Patreon members on our on-air shout out tier.
Yay.
So thankful for these people that help support us each month in, for one day going full time in VR podcasting. It would be a cool endeavor. Of course, it's sometimes feels a long way away, but every Patreon helps so much. Plus, we give you some cool little, listener perks. Like, of course, we have a tier that's just supporting, and then we have this tier for on-air shout-outs. We have another tier for your name across the bottom of the screen in a ticker. And then all of those give you access to an exclusive chat room in our Discord server that anybody can join our Discord server, but you just get a bonus room in there just for Patreon supporters. Plus, you get a little tag on your name saying that, or like your name's a different color because you're a Patreon supporter. Pretty cool. So definitely go help support us there if you're a fan of the podcast. It makes a world of difference, as well. Go subscribe on YouTube, on social media, all that stuff. We're definitely trying to grow the YouTube more and more, and we're doing it week by week, month by month. We're growing. So if you haven't yet, go subscribe there. Comment on the video there, like it there. It makes a huge difference. So huge shout out to our Patreon members on our on-air shout out tier. Asim, Crispy, Shoes, Amelia, Earth Witness, and Jake. You guys are awesome.
You're the goods. You're the goods, baby.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, and all seriousness, beyond the special thank you to all the Patreon peeps. Even if you're not a Patreon peep, but you do manage to jump into Discord, it seems to be a cool place, from my understanding. Someone who admittingly jumped in, because when we did the quest giveaway, there was a lot of people who, as for a prize chance, joined Discord, but then they join Discord, they wave, and then they bounce more or less, which I get. I respect that. It's fine. But a handful have chosen to stay on, like admittingly, like, yeah, I joined it just for the chance to win a quest, but
now I'm here, baby.
Now I'm here, and I don't own a quest, but
I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, I'm sticking around. I think once you, and I get it, I've joined other Discords, and I've joined Discords that have like a stupid small community, like 20, 25, which remember when ours was. But anyways, you'd think that joining one of 20 or 25 people would be all sorts of like, hey, how you doing? Blah, blah, blah. What are you playing? What do you play on? Nothing. Fucking radio silence. There's one, and I won't shit on it because I love the app that helps me relax, but I joined their Discord and freaking, dude, it's like radio silence. I was like, I think the only person who talked to me besides the developer was King Canuck from our Discord. He joined it, and it's like, as far as I know, there still hasn't been a conversation, and it's like, why do you even bother having a Discord if your community is that?
Well, no, you got to push it. You got to push it.
Where you join ours, and it's like, even if you stumbled into it, like, oops, I wonder what this was. And then instantly someone's probably going to be like, hey, what games are you currently playing? And if you happen to mention a game that people are currently playing, they're going to direct you you can go right to that channel right now. And we've seen a lot of Ghosts of Tabor peeps do that for, that's the only reason they're there.
For their Tabor Radio podcast, which if you haven't checked out yet, go subscribe to that as well. That's our official Ghosts of Tabor podcast. Maybe one day we can have a official Grim VR podcast as well. We'll see, but day by day.
Dude, Grim's going to be a problem in my life.
Yeah.
I already know.
And you know what? Even if you're not on the Patreon or the Discord, to go join the Patreon. No, I'm just kidding.
Right.
I appreciate everybody that listens week by week. I see it in the numbers on YouTube, on our podcast stats. I appreciate it. It's
every little bit helps.
Yeah. I don't mind talking to myself, but it's always cool to know that there's somebody else on the other end as well. It's not just going out to the ethos of nothing.
It's happened. Not necessarily to us, but I know it's happened.
Oh, to others, absolutely.
Yeah.
So thank you to everybody that listens week by week. It's definitely cool to see the podcast continue to grow, especially as the industry of VR grows. I'll say, if you haven't yet, rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
I'd love to see some new ratings up there.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Go drop us a written review on Apple Podcasts. It's been a little bit since we've gotten a new one, so that's always cool. We got a 5-star still on Apple Podcasts. I don't want to lose it. Knock on wood, but another 5-star definitely would be cool. So I saw a cool new game announced that it's coming out next month on September 14th. It's called Twist X. It's dropping on the Quest 2, and it looks made for the Quest 3 as well, if you ask me. It's a pass-through. I won't use the word Tetris because, in my understanding, Tetris doesn't like when people always make Tetris-like games, but it's like a Tetris, 3D Tetris cylinder falling tube that
Tetris in a tube.
Yeah, you had laughed at me because I said, well, they do something unique because there's never been 3D Tetris before. And you were like, well, Tetris Connect, bro. But I'm like, that's just still one plane. Like, it's still, you look at it 3D, VR 3D, but it's still dropping on one flat plane that you move around. Whereas this, it's three-dimensional, like it's literally falling from 365 degrees. And I kept seeing the guy like spin it real quick, and I don't know if he was changing the shape of the falling item. I don't know what was going on with that, but the game looks like it's got potential.
I mean, fiend off that Tetris love. It's like if you took the Tetris screen and then made a tube.
Basically.
So basically just take the whole screen and turn it. So, I mean, and that would be their argument, I'm sure, is like, no, Tetris pieces fall. Ours come from the side. Tetris screen is, in front of you. Ours is a tube or a cylinder that you can turn.
Oh, I totally argue it's its own unique thing to not get sued or anything like that. I don't think that.
But I would definitely say it's
Tetris.
It would not exist without Tetris.
No, it's the same. Like I won't say the same shapes,
yeah,
but similar.
Yeah.
But it was a cool game to see announced. I might
have
hold
the Russian background music. No,
right?
What are you talking about? There's no similarities, man.
I think I'm gonna hold off on it personally until I have the Quest 3.
Yeah, I'm not playing any pass-throughs until I have color pass-through.
It's the same as the what's it called? The Rube Goldberg.
Yeah. Nope. 1,000,000%.
Yep.
I wanted that day one.
Yeah.
But I'm like, nope. Pass-through. I'm not playing it without the friggin'...
I'm not spoiling it for myself.
No, it's gonna look shitty.
But it's a cool concept, so I'm definitely gonna grab it.
Black and white background. No, I want the high quality mess.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna grab it day one.
What's that?
I'll grab the Twist X.
Oh,
I don't know if I'll grab it day one, but I'll definitely get it at least when I have a Quest 3.
I'll play it day one of Quest 3 ownership.
Exactly. That and Rube Goldberg, they're day one buys. And then something else that was cool, that just came out, Samsung VR's headset that's rumored, they're getting back into the VR industry. It was cool. They came out pretty heavy during the most, in the 2015 era, and now they're kind of out of it for a while, but now they've come back in. They're focusing much more on cell phones, and they're working on an XR headset with Google handling the system software with Android. So it's cool. Not only there's no competition between Samsung, Google, and this. In fact, we have collaboration. This thing has potential. Mm-hmm. There was some good and some bad with these leaks. Who knows if it's true? Like all leaks, but it showed 4 tracking cameras with similar placement to the Quest 2, according to Upload VR's. But in fairness, Upload VR got their report from a Chinese news outlet, Gyro Technology, which is the ones that shared the technologies and the pictures and apparent specs. But it's going to have 4 tracking cameras with similar placement to the Quest 2, but with pancake lenses. And then the chip it's going to have is going to be Samsung's Exynos 22000 chip, which is more powerful than the Gen 1 XR2 that's in the Quest 2 and Pico 4, but less powerful than the Gen 2 XR that's just about to come out in the Quest 3. And then an issue that existed apparently with Exynos chips in Android phones was wasteful power consumption and then overheating. So it'll be interesting to see how that's balanced in a device that definitely cannot overheat, especially if, the solution to that's underclocking and the chip is already weaker than the newest Quest headset.
No, it's definitely going to be weaker than the Quest 3.
Yeah, that the chip's weaker than the Quest.
I mean, if depending on what they charge, if it's equal to the Quest 2, it's still worth coming into the market. You don't have to be better than the best to still make a difference, but it's going to come down to price. And then,
if it's priced competitively to where the Quest 2...
Playing some catch up with the games, though.
Oh, on the software? Well, if it's using an Android Android software for the operating system, I'm not technically savvy enough, but maybe that'll make it easier for a lot of developers that already have their games running on Android-based software in the Quest 2 to then just bring it over to that. I might be hopeful in that, but something that separates it from the Quest 2. So again, it's going to have a more powerful chip than the Quest 2, but less powerful than the Quest 3, and it's going to have color pass-through cameras. So no like black and white pass through. That's a little bit of a step up over the Quest 2.
Standalone?
Standalone.
All right. It's
Now-
going to come down to cost.
Here's the biggest negative that came to me in the specs. No controllers. They're going with the Apple eye tracking and hand tracking.
You just fucked up.
You just lost you, right?
Yep. You just fucked up.
You almost had you.
At this stage in the game, it's like, I get it. Give people the option. Mm-hmm. If you want to use your hands, use your hands. If you want the controllers, but this no controller shit, it just, and if Apple does it, but you've got the keyboard layout in front of you because you're using it for productivity, then I get it. But from a gaming standpoint, I don't know at what point you can play all the games you love without a controller. I'm just trying to think. When the tracking gets really good, you probably could. Mm-hmm. But it's like the precision of the auto areas where like your hands will go if you double grip a gun or something. It's like you can't be trusted to do that on yourself.
No.
So I don't know. It's the option would be there, but what's it going to cost? That's just what I'll say to anybody. Yeah, to anybody. Apple made a big to-do about their headset, and then they dropped their price, and it pretty much exceeded what everybody's guesses were for the most part, and they don't even have one yet.
But you know how I saw this headset? Not as a Quest competitor. It looks like that they're looking to make it Apple versus
Samsung,
Apple versus Google again with that market of headsets, because
they might have Apple beat
for that. Depending on the price and look, if they're not even trying to compete with the Quest, they're like, all right, maybe they'll do more gaming than the Apple phones as well.
And then are they talking only sit down shit, or
we don't know yet?
Yeah.
But we'll see it. But
All
it definitely looks
speculative.
like that they're focusing more on the Apple headset than a Quest competitor. That I found
compete with Apple. Apple doesn't have a headset yet. They have a vision.
it's a good point. But it
I don't
definitely
even think they promised anything either.
It's funny
they just
how
showed stuff.
It's funny how somebody like Apple shifts the market with other companies, but it doesn't seem like Meta really changed much of their pacing. But
I don't think Meta will.
They're probably relieved at the announcement because they're like, oh, okay.
Listen, Meta's in its own lane. I
Yeah.
don't think they really care about whatever company's saying they're going to come out with. Like if Pico got North America release, I don't think they care a bit. It doesn't, who cares?
They're so far ahead at this point. I think a little competition might actually be good for them.
Correct.
So,
because if you can drag ass on some technology, but if somebody comes out and offers some similar technology, similar price point, and it's got better shit than yours, now you're lighting a fire under somebody.
absolutely.
So
when I gave the shout out to the Patreon people, said we were going to take an ad break, then I didn't take an ad break.
Sorry.
So we'll be back with you in just a moment. Let's take a message from the sponsors, and then we'll finish up the rest of the news after.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to unleash the beach beast within you. This summer, Manscaped is here to help you level up your beach game with their new Beard Hedger Pro Kit. They're going past waist deep in the grooming game and diving in headfirst into your facial hair fantasies. The Beard Hedger is a game changer, allowing you to shape your beard like a true beach babe. So this summer, let the beach balls bounce and turn heads all over the place. Visit manscaped.com and use the code word RuffTalkVR for 20% off and free shipping. It's time to tame your mane. So say goodbye to all your stubble trouble with Manscaped's Beard Hedger Pro Kit. It all starts with the Beard Hedger. First off, this cordless trimmer has a rotary wheel that gives you 20 hair cutting lengths, all with one guard. So no more messy drawers full of extra add-ons. Plus, it's waterproof, so you can shave in the shower to avoid all the hair in the sink. The titanium-coated T-blade is tough on hair but smooth on your face, leading to single-stroke efficiency. That brings satisfaction one stroke at a time. The Pro Kit doesn't even end there, though. They've created 4 dermatologist-tested formulations for your post-trim care. First, there's the beard shampoo and conditioner. You need to remember all your hair is different. Your beard hair is more coarse and easier to damage than the hair in your head. That's why the kit has made shampoo and conditioner specifically designed to moisturize, reduce ingrown hairs, replace natural oils, and promote beard health. Next, the kit has Manscaped's Beard Oil. This helps relieve dryness both on the beard and under the skin beneath while adding a little shimmer and shine. Cap off the kit with the Beard Balm, pomade that shapes, styles, moisturizes, and tames for a sculpted look to attract any fellows or dames. The Pro Beard Kit also comes with 3 free gifts, a beard brush, comb, and scissors to ensure your beard is ready to impress. So get 20% off and free shipping with the code RuffTalkVR at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com, and be sure to use the code word RuffTalkVR. Manscaped Beard Hedger, 1 stroke, 1 guard, 20 lengths.
This podcast is brought to you by Kiwi Design, the leader in MetaQuest and VR accessories. And now you can deck out your device while supporting the podcast. The MetaQuest 2 is a great headset, but do you ever feel things could be a bit more comfortable? Well, we have the solution for you. With lens protectors, controller grips, face covers, head straps, link cables, headset stands, and more, including my 2 personal favorites, the top version controller grips with added weight and an extended handle, and the Kiwi upgraded Elite strap. Let's be real, we've all whacked our controller. Don't be the guy messaging Oculus support for your own mistake or waiting weeks for an out-of-stock controller. Visit the link in our show notes to prepare yourself today. After visiting the link in our show notes, make sure to use the promo code RuffTalkVR at checkout, all one word, to take full advantage of your savings. And make sure to click the link in our show notes so the podcast gets credit and you help support us. Remember, whatever you need, Kiwi has you covered. And we're back. So kind of just to wrap up the Apple talk, something that I thought was interesting was there's a report that Tim Cook came out internally saying that he uses his Apple headset daily.
I'm sure he does.
Yep.
I'm sure that they have one that works, and it probably costs $20K, but he's got it.
When I heard that, I was like, that's not really the most impressive. Like, that's not the most selling article. Yeah, the CEO uses their new device all the time. I would kind of expect that.
I would think he would have been using it through development, but now that it won't, like...
If the CEO can't use it daily, then how can you expect people to?
Yeah, I mean...
But I'd be more impressed to hear that employees were using it
Apple's
daily.
very multi-directional, so it's like, I don't know. Maybe it's just their flavor of the week.
Yeah, that was a funny one for sure.
Funny comment.
Yeah, that was just to wrap it up.
Guess what? I use that headset, you know. Like, as opposed to, were you using the Quest Pro before? You know, I stopped using my Pro. I'm using the one I developed now.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a silly one to see, but I had to mention it. And
That's
then
funny. No, I'm actually, like, I have concerns with Apple. I really do.
I don't have concerns. They'll do it's not like they're going to be crippled financially on anything.
No. I just don't. I think the reception they received from it was really, really mostly generated from people who are just loving VR and all that shit, and like real enthusiasts. After that, I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Well, with the headset announcement, it's just not for me, but I won't write them off until we're 2 to 3 generations in, just to be fair. You know, that's just typically where Apple... If it gets that, but that's why, then I'll write them...
If there is a 3rd generation.
Yeah.
So,
but I won't look at this first one and go, it'll never be anything, because I see every people daily with Apple Watches, and I never thought that would have caught on. So I'm wrong about technology sometimes, so I'll give Apple their time, too, before I completely write them off.
Well, not writing them off, but I'm just...
Or be skeptical.
I'm definitely skeptical. 100%. That I won't change.
But Cloudhead VR, one of the top VR studios, they're behind Pistol Whip VR.
Mm-hmm.
A game that was one of the first games available on the Quest Plus subscription. I always laugh that they had Pistol Whip and Pixel Ripped. Way too much of a tongue twister for the same ones back to back. But they've just announced they put out a roadmap for future updates with Pistol Whip, which is so cool to see a game that's been out that long still have a roadmap of updates like it's a game that came out last week. But they also announced that they've begun working on their next VR project, which they're saying that it's obvious, but they said in the statement, you know, we're using all the knowledge that we've acquired in our decade of involvement in the VR industry. And it's like, dude, the thing about that is it's true. They've been a top VR studio for a long time.
They're OGs.
They're a top studio working on a new game. I doubt it's going to be like Pistol Whipped. Sorry, like
It's gonna
pixel.
It's gonna be called Bullwhip. We dropped the pistol.
Yeah, I
It's
keep
Bullwhip.
combining the two names still, but I have a feeling it's going to be very much its own thing. But they didn't announce anything about what it's going to be, if it's going to be single player, multiplayer, this genre, nothing. But the fact that a new VR project has begun gets me very excited to see what's coming next for Cloudhead VR. And on that, another huge studio, Polyarcs, they put out Moss 1 and 2. A great example that top-down VR does have an audience, that it does work. And they announced a few months ago that they were working on a new multiplayer game. Didn't say much about it. It seemed to imply it was in the same universe as Moss because there were some images of the main character, but no official confirmation that I knew of. But they've officially confirmed it's going to be now in the same universe as Moss 1 and 2. But it's going to be a MOBA style multiplayer game, which a MOBA style multiplayer game is like League of Legends, which is hugely popular.
Online battles.
Yeah, I imagine this is going to be top down as well, which top down VR, I just said it a moment ago. I think it works. I think it works really well. We love Quantar.
If done properly, it works well. I could see if you did it shoddily, it's gonna be like, what's the point?
I don't play enough MOBAs to be strict about the genre classification and say this is a MOBA, this isn't. Like I know for a fact League of Legends is. Would Quantar count as a MOBA? Because it stands for Multiplayer Online Battle Arena.
Yeah, but I think having 4 people
isn't enough.
Doesn't cut it.
Okay. I haven't played enough. I'd love for hey, if somebody knows the answer, comment in our
Otherwise,
YouTube.
there'd be so many games that would fall into that classification.
That's true. If somebody knows, let us know what the official, distinction marks and
I want it in Latin too. I don't want to hear none of this English translation shit. Tell me what the Latin name of this is.
And I'm going to be educated pretty soon because last time I had some questions about roguelite, roguelikes.
Mm-hmm.
I got very educated in that after. So anybody who knows, let us know in our YouTube comments or in our Discord server. That would be cool. But definitely excited to see what comes out of this game. It's called as well Glassbreakers, Champions of Moss. That's kind of a cool name, Glassbreakers.
Mm-hmm. Professional.
Yeah. Again, Polyarcs, they're top studio in VR. Just like Cloudhead VR, they've had top VR games for years.
They know what they're doing.
On multiple headset platforms. I think that this next game is just a hit waiting to happen. Competitive multiplayer, sign me up. I'm so excited to...
If done properly, I will enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. It says... I don't think it said anything actually about the release, but I'm excited. I'm excited to hear more about it.
This will be a good one for Twitch players too.
Oh, I think it's going to be great for streaming. I think it's going to be great for Discord servers like ours to do a meetup in. It's going to be I'm so excited for it. I can't wait to see what comes. We've never put out podcast reviews of Moss 1 and 2. We have such a backlog of games. Let's see. It would be a cool one to get in when we have a dead time, but definitely we don't got a dead time right now. And if they're putting out a new one, I want to try that. But Moss 1 and 2, great games if you like top-down VR. And it's something unique, so I'm confident in Glassbreakers. So, Pavlov Shack, a game that pre-App Lab was one of the top games on SideQuest, and then the second App Lab came out. I always heard people talk about Pavlov Shack. It's the Quest version of a popular VR, PC VR shooter, Pavlov, but Pavlov Shack. Been on App Lab forever, slowly getting better, slowly crisping up, and now they say that their release on the Quest store is imminent. It's coming soon. They have their final build, done. They're just waiting for everything, like the final checks and everything like that, and they say the release is imminent. So it's cool. That's going to be a top graduate, in sales and everything like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to find an audience, that's for sure.
It already has an audience, so...
Exactly.
I think it was more popular, honestly. Maybe not... I don't know. maybe the stats would disagree, but I feel like it was talked about a lot more when we first started the podcast than it is now.
1,000,000%, dude.
I haven't.
There's
It
just
seems
been an
like it dies
influx
out.
of so many good games, just game after game after game, and then
Ghosts of Tabor. Ghosts of Tabor, I think.
I mean, you go back 2 years and look at all the games that have come out. Holy crap, man!
Yeah.
But for App Lab, I mean, yeah, right now Ghosts of Tabor is probably the.
I think Ghosts of Tabor took player bases from every shooter.
They've brought more people to App Lab than. Again, I mean, I'll exclude Gorilla Tag when they were on there, but
well,
that's quite an audience.
Yeah.
Not
Ghosts
to
of,
be fucked with.
but they're on their official store now too.
Yep.
Ghosts of Tabor sells headsets as well.
Oh, it's the dude. Tabor on Quest 3.
It doesn't just take player bases; it brings
No-brainer.
whole new player bases too. So that's important to say.
Yeah. You could get a headset and just play nothing but that and probably be just fine.
Mm-hmm. But regardless, couple more quick pieces of news,
And then Grim.
and then well,
Then since you've played those, you might as well play Walkabout Mini Go.
when they have
Then you
all
might as
three
well
of those,
play I Expect You to Die.
when they have all three of those games out, their survival, their more casual shooter, Ghosts of Tabor, and Grim VR, Combat Waffle Studios is just going to dominate the official MetaQuest stores all around. Like their top selling list.
I could see them becoming very publisher heavy related.
If they
that
become
point.
better and better at marketing, and they
It's like, let's be honest. They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
They've proven it with not having exposure. So it's like, at what point can you go, look, I mean, I can, because I don't think they'd be the type of company that would publish a game they don't believe in.
No.
So, although Scott always said he'd always use the same publisher.
I was always
Yeah. So maybe he would never make that move.
well, maybe he'll partner or publish it in partnership with them.
I could see.
Let's see.
Because he
Let's see
still
what
holds true
happens.
to his word. But unless the publisher he's working with was like, look, we get it. We relinquish you from any moral obligation, because I truly believe he's a strong man of his word. He'll publicly say the shit. Like, I don't ever want to use anyone else, even if they offered better services or came in cheaper. Fuck you. These people have been with us and believed in us. But
Yeah, sticking loyalty.
I could see
and,
co-publish.
yeah, let's see. Time will tell.
Mm-hmm.
And then
They're
just,
good at it.
like I said, a couple more pieces of news, and then we'll wrap this baby up. But a game that we love, one of the best examples of a free-to-play game, Cards and Tankards.
Mm-hmm.
I'm down to go in it and throw the cards around any day. They do a great job with the social interaction, with the props, with the deck building, being able to get your cards just by playing, but having the option to support the devs as well. Of course, I'm always in favor of just charge me $5.99 or $4.99, $9.99.
anyways.
Yeah,
So.
exactly. But they've continued to improve the game, which was a great game when we first played it.
Mm-hmm.
They've added better moderation features. They've added new factions, more cards, and everything like that. And even to that, their new update is adding even more cards. So the game just continues to grow. They just had an update drop. So if you're a Cards of Tankards fan, the game's not slowing down. I had to give a huge shout out to them for still adding updates and just never slowing down.
It's their baby, man.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to stop with that one.
Yeah, they just had a new update last week. How crazy is
Another
that?
App Lab graduate.
Yeah, another App Lab graduate. And another example of, if you were to pitch card games like that to most people, they would say, oh, that doesn't take enough advantage of VR. That doesn't work good. Just do it. It works freaking good,
I mean, everybody who says this, they don't do shit to contribute. So it's like, you can have all the opinions you want, but unless you're part of some ability to make shit the way that you think it should be, who really cares what you say? I
Yeah.
mean, I'll flat out say it. It's like, if your involvement in an industry is to just criticize what you don't believe to be, in your opinion, the best way to do it, it's like, your opinion really doesn't matter.
No, and dude, I say it all the time. I still just want to see Civilization in VR.
I hope someone makes it and just sends you a copy just to shut you up.
Yeah, I won't shut up until I play it. It would work so good.
No, we've talked
Sid
this
Meier's.
to nauseum, but it's like, Any board game you grew up playing,
Monopoly.
shy of checkers.
Life.
Checkers would
The
be
game
boring.
of life.
Life is possible because they have some more modern, up-to-date flat screen version improvements off the original game. So it's ironic you
With
say
Monopoly.
that because I've seen them.
I've seen digital
there's so
Monopoly.
many versions of Monopoly too that on flat screen. There's there are some now where you could totally pull it off in VR if you want to do a port, let alone just make it for VR.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of board games in VR. I'm a big fan of top-down VR. Civilization VR. Sid Meier's, where you at? What are you doing? Let's get this. You know, I'd love to see Civilization in VR, and I won't shut up about it until I see it. But to give credit where credit's due, huge props to Cards and Tankards for continuing to add update after update to an already great game. And then the last piece of news to wrap this baby up, Meta's talked about previously that they have all the time bunch of different prototype headsets in the works. You know, some get killed off, others are just conceptual to try to get as good at one specific thing as possible. But they recently showed off 2 prototype headsets at a conference, like a tech conference that's called SIGGRAPH, SIGGRAF, and they showed off their prototype headsets, Butterscotch, which I know they've showed off before, and then another one, Flamera. And then they've won, at this conference, they won 3 tech awards with it. So that was pretty cool. I think that having these type of prototype headsets is essential for improving the tech in these standalone headsets.
Oh, they're not scared to dump a lot of money into research and design, so I get it.
No, and that was actually something that Zuck talked about when the Apple Vision Pro headset came out, where the announcement of it, he was like, that's interesting that they went that route, and that's something that we've done before in prototypes, you know, but didn't think it was the most viable product for consumers. But
no, it's expensive.
Yeah.
I.e. expensive.
Yeah, that's how I
and
took
we're
that.
taking a different route.
Yeah. Our $500 Quest 3.
Which, like matter or not, you gotta like appreciate that they're getting so many. Think of 20 million headsets sold, and we know that number's higher. That didn't have one. So it's like if they didn't do what they did, not everyone would be playing VR, and then it really would just be a little fad that.
Look at how many games that
people had.
Look at how many games they funded through Oculus Publishing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so many games they've helped bring to life that have then gone on to other headset platforms and other things like that.
And they don't even put exclusives on that. Yeah.
Yeah, I hear people say Meta's not focused on gaming, but like again, if you go and pull up the number of titles that they've funded and published through Oculus Publishing,
they build headsets that allow developers to have games on it. Mm-hmm. Get what I'm saying? And so it's like, who cares if they ever had a game themselves? It's weird, you know, they have their own publishing studio, so they can.
Their biggest criticism is that a couple of years ago, they scooped up a bunch of top VR studios and haven't put out anything with them since. In fact, kind of killed off some projects like Echo VR, you know, Ready at Dawn. They had some layoffs too with Onward staff that they got reduced. So people have been like, what the hell? What are these big studios that were putting out good VR content then you then scooped up and you haven't done anything with? But look, games aren't made in 2 months. You know, it takes a couple years. So if they scooped up these studios a couple years ago, like the developers of Asgard's Wrath, and now we're getting Asgard's Wrath 2 at the end of the year, it takes a couple years. Like, just give them a little bit more time unless you want these bad games. It seems like with the studios that they acquired, they're trying to put out like top level AAA VR experiences, which you don't do in a year by any means. Asgard's Wrath 2 is going to be a 60-hour RPG.
Allegedly.
That's never been done in standalone VR.
How big is that then?
Yeah, it's going to cost $60. So,
well, I'm curious the size of it.
Yeah. Right? Is it even going to fit on a 64 gigabyte?
It won't be made for 64 gigabyte. No.
But so just give them time with those studios. I mean, I get it. It's like, hey, you buy all these studios and you're not doing anything. But
again, we don't know that though.
I doubt they're just paying them fat salaries to do nothing. It's just like,
sit in a chair.
a game's not made in a day. It's not made in a week. You know, it takes time. It takes years first to find the people to do the concept, to get it.
There's nothing wrong with buying something and stripping the best from it and then ditching the shit that you don't need. So that's possible too.
That's never happened in tech acquirers
it happens
before.
in everything.
Yeah.
Look at people that go around scrapping metal.
Mm-hmm.
What are they doing? They're keeping the best part and getting rid of the dead weight that has no value.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like if they're buying something, they obviously saw some value. It could have been in people, could have been in a technology,
And
but
I'd argue a great example of this is Beat Saber, because it's like when they bought Beat Games, it's not with the intention to make a whole new game. And since they've bought in Beat Games, they've been nonstop with content, with DLC packs and everything like that. I think these studios are honestly they're working on stuff. It's just not ready yet. Very as simple as that, you know.
it's possible.
Asgard's Wrath 2 is a great example of that, because you don't hear anything about them doing anything. Radio silence, and then boom, coming a couple months later. So
We know they're not being paid to not work. So if they are, I'd love to be on the development team. I'll be the lead
somebody tell me
production guy, and
how to get one of those jobs, and
I will come in Monday morning and do nothing, and
I'll be the life of the office. I'll tell you that.
I'll be doing VR. I'll be in VR a lot, but
I'll be doing some market research, you know. I'll be studying the industry.
working.
So
I'm working.
but so fun stuff today. And anything else you want to talk about, or
No,
I wrap it up?
think we're good.
Yeah, give a shout out to our Discord peeps. Again, we appreciate you. We appreciate all the listeners. If you haven't joined the Patreon yet and you've got some spare change, definitely would appreciate the support there. But we got some perks for you too, so we'll give you, on-air shout out. We can even give a shout out to your pet or something like that if you want instead. We'll say pretty much anything that if you pay us $10, we'll say it, So other than that, subscribe, rate us 5 stars. Let us know your thoughts in the YouTube comments, in our Discord, and check you out Wednesday for something else too. Stay tuned for that.
Take care.
Ciao, ciao.